Outlander fans, we're back for episode 3 of season 5, Free Will. I'm Rob Licuria, senior editor here at Gold Derby with Paula Sullivan-Licuria. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Episode 5.03, Free Will. Let's just quickly go through what it was about. The growing regulator threat forces Jamie, Claire and Roger to embark on a mission to raise a militia. When one of their settlers reveals he is a bond servant and asks for help freeing himself and his brother from their abusive master, Jamie and Claire are forced to make a difficult decision. The episode was written by Luke Shellas and directed by Jamie Payne. So, the episode starts off with our favourite storyline, Claire, healer. She's opening with the whole penicillin search. I've got to say, I was very impressed with the time-lapse photography and the tempting fate in history again. She's done it time and time again. Let's see if we can tempt fate. Let's see if we can just adjust history a little. And because she has the knowledge that these people don't have, that's when the show is hitting its stride. That's when I'm in 100%. Loved it, loved it, loved it.
Did you love it?
A little.
Just checking. No, it was good. I love the time lapse as well with, the piece of bread and, she manages to upset her housekeeper, being up all night baking these loaves of bread to find the right strain of penicillin. I love it.
By the way, how many times have we opened the pantry and pulled out a loaf of bread and just seen the exact same thing? Like, it's kind of disgusting, but sorry, I digress.
You do, slightly. But yes, that is how penicillin was originally created. And I love it. Tempting fate, goes back to the Doctor Who premise, timey-wimey stuff. Do we tempt fate? Do we not tempt fate? No, let's just tempt fate. I love it. Anyway, I loved it. And then she brings Marsley into it, teaching her about penicillin. I love it. She's teaching this, 18th century, 19th century girl about penicillin 100 years before it's discovered. Love it.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We then move on to Beardsley body stashed. They're my notes. Quite macabre. They smell something up there and then they realise there's a guy who's had a stroke but he's not quite dead, but he's almost dead. And,
that actually dead then.
Yeah, you were kind of looking away and you were kind of freaking out a bit. And I was just like, yeah, okay, so now what's going to happen? It was a bit of a piece of work.
Just slightly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially with his 5 wives or previously dying.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I kept saying to you, are we supposed to care about this Fanny person? And then she nicks off without the baby. And I'm like, okay, so this is going to be something that will carry over. But this was something that needed to happen for them to get the baby, for them to then obviously move on to the next episode and blah, blah, blah. And then I remember also saying, because before that, before she was in labour, I was like, oh, I thought she was just fat, but she was actually pregnant. And then she went into labour and it was like literally like, baby was born. So it was a very quick succession from had no idea she was pregnant to baby in the room, but here we are. So she's had the baby, she nicks off. Then they had to work out what do we do with this Beardsley character. And I thought he would try to ask for redemption. That's not what normally happens on a normal show, but on this show, they do whatever the hell they want. And he was just like, no, I'm not sorry for what I've done. And that's when Jamie's like, well, you know what then? I'm going to kill you. And I love that. I think that's just so cool. I think it's just, this is what we love about the show. It's unexpected. It's different. It's going on a different tangent. That's what I want to see. Yeah, look, the whole episode, for want of a different adjective, with the Beardsleys, it does take I think it was about a good couple of chapters in the book. Through my flicking, I haven't got to it yet. Like, that's how fast I feel like the show is moving through the book.
Like, you've seen the size of the book. This is pretty big. So this is where I'm up to here. I'm about up to here. This is where I've got to in my flicking. I'm flicking. I'm not even reading. So I haven't even got to the Beardsleys yet. So they're moving pretty quick through it. So I can't keep up, but I'm going to do my best. But in regard to the Beardsleys, I do remember. So these poor boys are sold to this horrid man who treats them treats his animals better than he treats these two boys, and they've both got health problems. Claire's noticed that one of them's at least got tonsillitis, and they finally get the indenture papers from Fanny, and you're right. You're not meant to like her to start off with, because she had these boys in her care. She didn't really look after them. They see the stuff dripping from the ceiling, and then they go up and it's the husband and he's there, and because I read the book, I knew what was happening. So the way it was filmed, you sort of are meant to feel slightly sorry for this guy lying, half dead in his own filth. And then when you finally get to talking to Fanny and realise, so she's wife number 5. What's happened to the first 4? What's this bloke done to his first 4 wives? We can only imagine. And she says she's haunted by their ghosts. So, which is, in that era, would be pretty frightening. And so here she is, she's pregnant, thankfully, and she seems quite happy, that it's not his, which is all well and good, some slaves that's passed through, doesn't matter, but she obviously wants to give this child a good home. And yes, you are right, the birth scene was pretty quick, but, I think, I'm not sure if we meet Fanny again, spoiler alert, I'm not 100%, we may not, but you feel sorry for this baby, and the mother is trying to do her best for her child, and then they finally get the indenture papers, and then you're right, this guy is lying on the table. There's no chance of him recovering because he's had a stroke or an apoplexy, I think is how you pronounce it for back then. Yeah, I can't get my tongue around that. And so you think this guy who can only communicate by blinking, Jamie offers him redemption. Because that's just Jamie, he tries to see the best in nearly everyone that he comes across. Even this guy, he's even willing to give this guy redemption in any possible sense and forgiveness. And he actively doesn't want it. I think either way, he was going to end up being euthanized by Jamie, for a nice term. But the fact that he chose not to be redeemed, and in that second, any care, any sort of slight emotion you have to this character you've only met once, gone straight out the window. And and you see in Jamie's eyes this hard decision. You've got this horrible character or horrible man lying on the table, and it just doesn't fly with Jamie's internal moral compass. So unfortunately, excuse me, we have our own Adzo who's going to show up. This is our Adzo. His name is Oscar.
Cheeky. So cheeky.
He's come to say
he
hello.
likes Outlander too, apparently.
He does. He loves Outlander. He sits with me. So if you see him popping in, that's who it is. So excuse me.
Yeah. The final point before we go is about, look, I need to admit something. Okay?
What?
This is going to be hard for everybody to hear this. But I find the Regulator storyline really boring. I'm sorry. I just find it really boring.
Okay. All right. Well, can we go back to
and this episode was Regulator, and I was just like,
Okay. I said to you at the time, even when I read it in the book, I don't know. I think maybe it's from our historical, what we've known of our backgrounds. This isn't something that would normally have, like, not happened in our backgrounds. So I think for us, because it's something new, it's something different, we're not sure how to react to it. Look, even when I read it in the book, I was like a little bored. I still read it. I didn't skip over it. I was a good book reader. I read every word. But I was like, okay, all right, I get it. I understand where they're coming from. All right, you're going to tar and feather and rah-rah. I understand it's really painful and everything like that. And I was just like, okay, I get it. But I agree with you. But going back to a point you said, I think in episode 1, I love how they've brought Murta into it. The fact that he is the leader of the regulators. It gives you an emotional connection to it. Because
thank God.
Yeah, because if Jamie didn't have that emotional connection to the regulators and watch it and understand where they're coming from, I think it would be a bit more black and white. It still would have been slightly grey, a little bit, but with Murta there, it is several shades of grey. So now Jamie's trying to deal. Well, what does he do? These are his godfather's friends. Yes, he's released Murta from protecting him, the vow that he gave him back in episode 1. But Jamie, you can still see it. He has this loyalty to his family, and he can't bring himself to do it. So it's really kind of sad in that way and conflicting, and, the character development and everything like that. And I think I love the way they brought Murta into it, because at the end of season 4, I was like, well, we already knew he was going to be the head of the regulators, but how are they going to deal with Murta at the surviving Culloden? And I love it.
Well,
I love
what
Murta.
ended up happening was he ended up hooking up with Jocasta. So that's always fun. That's always fun.
Yes, especially in that's obviously a whole new story arc as well. Murta and Jocasta. We found out Jocasta's supposed to be getting married to Duncan Innes, which hasn't happened yet, but in the books happened at the same time Brianna married Roger. But it hasn't happened yet on the show. So I don't know if we get to see it. We haven't. I don't recall meeting. I think we maybe met Duncan season 4. But I don't really remember. So I'm intrigued to see what the rest of the season has got in store for Jocasta. If we're going to see her again, bring on Maria Doyle-Kennedy. Love her. Watch her all day.
I could watch her all day. She's awesome.
Bring on Murta. Want to see them two together again.
Absolutely. They're one of the best couples of this whole show.
Other than Claire and Jamie, of course. Come on.
Well, okay. It's controversial. Speaking of watching things all day, we've got plenty of other videos for you guys to watch, so please don't forget to click subscribe, watch all the videos, watch all of our other interviews with the stars and celebrities of all the other award shows and reality TV. And don't forget, we'll be back next week for episode 4. And in the meantime, Outlander is all over Gold Derby as usual, because it's the best show on TV and we are the best website on the internet. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next week.